Views on the sidelines of the roundtable discussions and the different sessions taking place here at Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, and at COP27. On the sidelines, we're really very much delighted and honored to have with us Professor Dr. Celeste Saulo, who is the head of the Weather Service Argentina. Thank you so much for joining us, Mrs. Saulo, and pleasure meeting you. Tell us more about the participation of Argentina at COP27.
Okay, thank you very much first for inviting me to share my experience here at COP. And first of all, congratulate Egypt for organizing such a wonderful conference. And as Argentina, I'm part of the delegation of my country as the director of the Weather Service. We all know that climate change has many things to do with the weather and how we can predict weather and how we make measurements. So I think that from the very beginning of this conference, it was stated by Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Guterres, that we want to achieve early warning systems for all the world in 5 years. That is very, very tight and challenging schedule, but I think that all our countries are working in that direction, particularly Argentina, of course.
Yes, definitely, and we're talking here at COP27 also sustainability and talking climate finance, which is very high on the agenda and for the future generations, in order to make this vision implemented on solid grounds.
Yes, definitely. We as developing countries, something that we will share with Egypt is the role of funding agencies is crucial for us to achieve our goals. We all know that we are not, that we don't have such level of responsibility on what the climate looks like now, but we are the most vulnerable. So we need the funding agencies and all the organisms working in the same direction so that we have a more equitable approach to sustainability, and that is where my country is completely engaged, as yours.
Yes. Dr. Saulo, talking about your participation in COP, is this the first COP or you've attended previous COPs? And in your opinion, how will COP27 in Egypt make a difference?
Well, I think we've heard some keywords like implementation. I think we are all waiting to our countries to succeed in implementing what the high levels of our countries are already discussing. I think we have to implement, and I would love having here a result telling us how we are going to implement and achieve our goal of not reaching more than 1.5 degrees of warming around the world. And also, of course, mitigating all the possible impacts that we will suffer because of this climate change.
Yes, we're talking from vision to implementation. It's very important, as you've said, that we are talking implementation, because this is the key word, this is the magic word here at COP27, is making those projects happen. What we discuss here at the different roundtable discussions and more would be implemented on solid grounds. Talking sustainability, the challenges that are ahead, and how far can we move on through a sense of mechanism for the follow-up also after COP ends?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because we have to move on. Our countries have to deal with their business. We all need to grow, but in a sustainable way. And I think that, of course, we are speaking about clean energies. We are speaking of the net zero, achieving net zero goal, but we need help to achieve that. And I think that it's something that we expect from the developed world to help us achieve that sustainability. And I'm completely sure that we, the developing world, are ready to work in that direction.
Yes. Ms. Saulo, if we're talking about the peers from around the world. I guess you're the head of the weather service in Argentina, and here is also always at COPs golden opportunity to meet with peers around the world. What were the main key points of discussion
Well,
in your
our main
meetings?
points of discussion are this challenging objective of having all the world covered by early warning systems. You know that early warning systems are complex systems, because on the one hand you have the forecast that you need to prepare in advance, then you have the preparation, and then you have communication. And when you are an expert on communication, so when we speak about communication, we are speaking about different cultures, different understanding of the risk. So risk understanding is crucial, as it is providing a good weather service, a good forecasting system, a good early warning, so that you can take effective action in advance. So that's what we are concerned about. The weather services around the world are very engaged in this initiative, because we have to provide better forecasts, but we need to communicate so that these better forecasts actually are effective for decision making.
Yes, and from vision to implementation, this is definitely our motto here at COP27, and this is what we are working on. And talking the future implementation, climate change challenges vis-a-vis the weather services around the world. How is the equation?
Well, the equation is that we need to strengthen the weather services, because we are key parts of this system. The weather services make measurements so that we can be aware of how the climate is changing. So we have to keep those measurements going, and we have to enrich these measurements. So we need very strong and very well supported weather services. This is one issue. And as I've said before, the early warning system. So we need infrastructure, shared infrastructure around the world, so that we can prepare with better forecasts, but then tailor this forecast into the very sensitive issues that each country has. It's not the same, let's say, a hazard for Egypt as it could be a hazard for Argentina, for example.
Yes.
The weather is completely different. So
Yeah.
we have to work in a different direction, but working together. And this is something very unique of the World Meteorological Organization, the organization of United Nations that gather all the weather services and all the hydrological services, so that we can speak a common language and share good practices and share data and information.
Yes, and maybe this is the mission actually here and the vision for COP, that with this sense of togetherness, we work together for implementation for the coming generations. The youth are also hands-on. You've talked to us about communication, which is a key word here, because if you communicate well concerning the hazards of climate change, definitely this was going to have an impact.
Definitely, I agree with you, and this is our duty for the benefit of the future generations.
I thank you very much, Professor Celesta Saulo, the head of the Weather Service at Argentina. It has been an honor and pleasure having you, adding value to our show here from Sharm el-Sheikh at COP27.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. And as you can see, we have guests of honor on the channel from around the world attending COP27, all talking about this sense of togetherness, talking from vision to implementation, and talking, of course, what is happening here is history making, because we are working for tomorrow and for the future generations. Stay tuned for more coming up on Nile TV.